It's a bonus episode of This Team Is Killing Us this week, making up for the fact that we have been off for the last 2 weeks. We asked you, oh, by the way, it's a podcast about what the Carolina Panthers do to good people. She is Lauren Brownlow. I'm Demetri and And Lauren, what is killing me this week is that we took that extra week off, and now we have to throw together a listener interaction episode to make up for just being normal human beings and taking a summer vacation.
Well, I mean, to be fair, your summer vacation was far from normal, Evita.
That's true.
That's. Let me tell you, when you told me you were going to Argentina, that's been in my head. That's entire soundtrack, but especially What's New Buenos Aires has been in my head. The entire, and I'm like, I literally even know the dance moves that she does in the. I watched that movie over and over again on a loop as a child. I realize a lot of people think it's complete trash. I had never heard the soundtrack before Madonna did that movie. I know every word of it, every beat of that movie.
Yeah.
I know every. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I haven't watched it in a while, but
when you're in Buenos Aires, you can definitely tell which tour guides specialize in leading Americans around. Because the question, do you know the song Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, was asked to me at least 3 times while in Buenos Aires, and all of them.
One of my least favorites on that soundtrack, by the way.
Yeah, I could see that 100%. But Evita Peron, I do want to share one thing about Argentina, about her, that I think is fantastic. There is a building with a big iron stencil of her overlooking, and there's one on each side. So there are 2, one overlooking one side of town, one overlooking the other. The side of the building overlooking the side of town where most of the lower class and working class people are is smiling and sweet. And the side overlooking the rich side of town is giving a fiery, she's giving a fiery speech. It's fantastic. All right, so we have emails, we have Twitter comments, we have Instagram comments. We have a lot to get to, Lauren, so let's just jump in.
All right.
The first one I'm going to leave completely to you from William I. Wells on Instagram. Worst season, last year or 2001?
So that's tough because I remember that I watched 2001 as well. But it's not as fresh on my mind. And so I'm trying not to let recency bias get in the way.
Sure.
I don't know. I guess I would still say last year, just because it was so, and maybe 2001 was just as embarrassing, but we were a relatively new franchise. We had already performed way better than people thought. We'd already made the playoffs. So it was okay, well, this is what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? We're supposed to suck early on. So I remember thinking that, well, you know what? It is what it is. Bad year, not the end of the world. And by the way, it ended up being, not the end of the world. So, it was it was fine.
So that's
I don't know that there's hope as much for the, you know what I mean? That was
sure.
Oh, it's early. We're an expansion team. Coach, it didn't work out the way we thought, whatever, they'll move on, get a better one. And now there's not that same faith that things will resolve.
Okay. So that's my one challenge to last year being worse than 01. Does 01 seem better because you have the hindsight of the Super Bowl was 3 years away?
Well, I just remember not necessarily though, because I remember even thinking at the time, you know what? We just got a team 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Got plenty of time. Plenty of time. So I remember thinking that even at the time of you know what? I was look, there are teams that haven't been to the playoffs in way longer. We made it in year 1 or whatever. So what?
Yeah.
They made it twice, I think, by 2001. I think that's right. They'd been to the playoffs twice already. And it was all right, you know what? We're due for a sucky year. I'm not going to panic until there's reason to.
Yeah.
That was the way I felt about it at the time, even though it was unpleasant to get through.
Right. All right. Let's go to Twitter for this next one from Andrew Watkins. Did you see Dov Kleiman's list of the most famous fan of each franchise?
Oh God, no.
Okay, so he lists Steph Curry as the most famous Panthers fan, and then asks, this is Andrew Watkins' question now, who's the second most famous Panthers fan?
CamNewton.
Over Luke Combs?
You'd have to answer that more than me because I know who that is because I've
Right.
heard of country music people before. Do I like really? But to me, like he's not that famous. I'm sure he is very famous to others. I've heard the name plenty. I know he's like famous. Is he more famous than CamNewton?
With the general public, I would say yes. However, I will say this: Luke Combs is not my kind of country, right? Like that's not like Americana alt country kind of stuff. So I don't really have a good gauge of it. But his cover of Fast Car kind of crossed over at a huge,
he did that.
way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe a little more fame from that then. But I'm just saying, I still think like nationally speaking, there are definitely people that do not mess with country music, really.
Oh, for sure.
So like, I do still think maybe nationally speaking, Cam would have more name recognition still. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's been so long since he was like actually prolific that I'm an old person.
I think, and listen, you and I think in different ways suffer from the same kind of sports blindness. I wonder how much some of these guys, as big as the NFL is, I wonder how big individually some of the guys not named Tom Brady are.
Right. No, I know. But Cam, that's definitely, I mean, he was definitely the most famous Panther there's ever been. For sure. And it's not close. And so, like, you know, considering how big a deal that year was, like, I could see it. But yeah, I mean, I could see a case to be made. It's just like, oh, really?
Is he the only Panther to ever have a national sponsorship deal of any sort? Like I'm sorry, let me be a little more specific. To be the national face of a brand on their commercials, because certainly plenty of dudes had deals with like Nike and Gatorade and stuff like that, but I can't think of anyone that had like an Oikos yogurt commercial.
Maybe Peppers would have had something, but he didn't. That wasn't like, he wasn't huge into that. But so I don't think so. Actually, I don't think Peppers did. He was definitely famous enough and good enough to have done it, though.
Right. I think after. If we don't know for sure on Peppers, the next one might be Bryson. That was when he was at Alabama. He certainly didn't.
I was going to say like Steve Smith, but I don't think national. No.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I could have seen him in a commercial, like as a joke. That I don't.
How big were the Bojangles commercials at the time?
I mean, locally they're huge. Like
locally huge.
The Jake DeLobe ones, forget it. Those are legendary.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. DeLobe for Bojangles, Luke Kuechly for CPI. Like the Carolinas companies are all over the Panthers greats. All right, this one from Ice Kerm on Twitter. Do y'all think the Panthers stadium upgrades will be enough, or the Canes for that matter? I asked him to clarify, like, enough for what? And he said to keep pace with the rest of the league.
No.
Of course not.
Like,
of course not.
No, because you need a freaking retractable roof.
Right. Not only that, like, look, man, I mean, and this is not to Kerm specifically. This is to anybody that gets overly excited about a renovation of any stadium. Dude, someone's always going to be building something new. You're only at the top of the food chain until the next new stadium opens. And, you know, that doesn't even just mean in the NFL or for the Canes in the NHL, right? Like the Clippers are about to open their brand new stadium in LA that's supposed to like revolutionize everything.
Oh, they're getting their own place?
Oh. And yeah, like right next to the Rams and Chargers stadium. Look up the concept drawings because they are fucking incredible. And you're almost like, you're going to waste this on the Clippers?
Hey, you know, I mean, but no, I mean, like the Canes, you know what? I'll say this, like, I'm the most excited for the Canes just because you've been around PNC enough to know that there's like, it's like a wasteland over there. Like, if you want to eat next to the game, good luck, because you're not gonna. Like, there's nowhere like super. There's like a couple places right by there. One, you know, some good places too, but like you can't, like everyone around can't eat at one place. So
that's right. We can't all stand around the breeze through hot dog roller. That's
right.
Insane.
Or hit up that Wendy's because already everyone's at the Wendy's. Okay. Everyone and their mother is in the drive-through line. You will have to wait and circle back around. Not that I've done this, you know, several times in the past, but like, you know, and there are places around there like Backyard Bistro, whatever. But like to me, that's because it is like literally the fairgrounds right around there. Well, and so like, I mean, you know, it's not.
And to your point, that's the big one because even if what's that?
And farmland.
And farmland, right?
Literally, like there are cows out there. You can see them.
I was about to say, not even farmland, but what would you call like educational land for farming?
Right. Educational farmland. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, like that's where like NC State Agricultural School. That's where they make their bomb ice cream, which is great. Howling Cow, shout out. However, like that, you got to have your cows, and they got to have a place to pasture. I don't know. I mean, is pasture a verb?
I think so.
Okay.
You put them out to pasture.
Not a farm girly.
The Canes upgrade is going to be so necessary because of exactly what you're talking about. Like, even if there is not stuff right next to Bank of America Stadium, it is at least possible to walk from something.
You can walk,
Bank of America Stadium.
Right. Like, yeah, and that's the thing too. It's not just like, it's not in Raleigh. I mean, it's not just Canes and like NC State games. It's also like concerts that are there. And just the complete madness to get out of that area when it's over is because there is literally nothing. Like, you can tailgate in the parking lot, or you can sit your ass in a long line of people trying to leave, and it's triggered. Like, literally, I have like passed on going to shows plenty of times because I'm like, I don't want to deal with that shit.
Parking at like event centers in North Carolina is as bad as anything I've ever. Getting out of the creek after a show there, getting out of a game at Carter Finley, like give me literally anything else.
Yes, let me like gouge my own eyes out instead, because it was
I would say give me anything else except for this question from Ken Langley, sort of along the same lines. Should UNC renovate or build new? Bynum, Tin Can, Woolen, and Carmichael all lasted less than 35 years. Getting out of Chapel Hill after an event is literally the worst thing about living in the Triangle. I will not hear arguments to the contrary.
It's the worst traffic-wise, 100%. Even getting there. Like, it has taken me as long as like an hour and 15 minutes from like for a 30-ish minute drive. To like get there and park, because like, especially if it's like a 7 o'clock game, you've got 5 o'clock traffic to contend with. And this is like when I have a parking pass. Forget like trying to find something.
Oh, like, dude. Leaving that it was not this past, it was last summer that Chelsea and Wrexham played that exhibition game from Kenan Stadium to the exit to get on 40 off of 54, an hour and a half.
I'm not surprised. Like, and it's ridiculous, right? Like, it's just like, how is this still like this? So, I mean, like that, it could help for that. But like, at the same time, like, how are they gonna, there's only so much they could do. Like, Chapel Hill's not a huge place.
Right.
It's really not. Like, the infrastructure is not necessarily, like, they've tried some stuff, and, I mean, like, it's been worse. Like, they've done, they've made some improvements, but it's still not good. It's still bad. It's still, and like, I'm used to leaving later, but even when I leave later, there have been times where I'm still sitting in that same traffic. Like, I could be leaving an hour and 15 minutes after a game, and I'm still like sitting in traffic. Like, I've always like half joked. I mean, because people will be like, "Oh, Keenan's so empty," and obviously, like, it has been. I'm not saying it hasn't, but like they'll say that, and I'm like, okay, if it was so empty, why? What am I sitting in? Why are these people on the roads? Where are they coming from? Why? Why are there so many of them? Like, it is just, it's horrendous. Like, it's bad. I mean, but I think like this is more about the Smith Center specifically than it is about Kenan. It is about the Smith Center, because I can tell, because all the others were basketball arenas. So, it is what it is. Like, they're gonna have to add like the rich people seats if they do anything, because that's just the way the world works now. So like, that's probably going to be the main purpose for it. I think they would be better. Personally, I think it would be better for them to renovate the existing structure as opposed to like knock down and build a new. That is I mean, they've got the basketball museum over there now. Like, they've got stuff there that's like, that is new and that is up to date. And so, in my personal opinion, I think they should just kind of renovate what they have. I don't know, like, if they're even like, if there's something preventing them from being able to do that, or if they feel like they'd have to blow it up. But to me, that's because like that's the thing that people were upset about when they moved. Like, I know they've moved every 30 some years, but like, when they moved from Carmichael to the Smith Center, everybody was bemoaning the fact that like, this is not a building with like history and tradition like Carmichael was. It's not a home court advantage like Duke still has. right, with their gym because it seats like 8,000 people, and the Dean Dome seats like 22, I think 21 or 2.
Yeah, 22, 23. I
So
think right
like,
on that border.
but I mean, when that was first a new venue, like they were getting concerts and stuff like that, and so I get like why some people are like, oh, do you like tear it down and build it anew? I don't know that we need to be having concerts there anymore, to be honest. I'm just saying.
I think the last one that was there was that Will Ferrell
I
comedy
went
tour
to that.
thing. Yeah, I did too, and I think that had to be 09?
That was like 2000, like early aughts.
No, I got here in 05.
It was not much after that though.
Okay. I believe you. I just don't remember. Oh, you know what? It's a good way to mark it in time. Tyler Hansborough was in attendance.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was like before 2010. I'm pretty sure. So it was like between 5 and 10. Because I was not long out of college. I do remember that much.
Let me simplify this. All things being equal, tear it down and build new. Any stadium built before 2000 is garbage. It's a dump, and you should just start completely over. The next one in the email from Dan in Wilmington. Excuse me. What is the right age to show your kid Austin Powers? I have an 11-year-old that I think would love it. I'm just not sure she's ready for all the sexual innuendo.
That's a great question. I've been wondering that myself with my now 8-year-old.
Is that the elder millennials movie? Like, is that the parent movie for our age group? The way like maybe Animal House or Caddyshack was for our parents?
Blazing Saddles for my parents too.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I remember feeling like that was a rite of passage when I finally got shown that. I would say like I've actually like I think there are a series of comedy movies, right? Like Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber would be in that. Wayne's World would be on that list for me personally.
No, me too. I mean, like, I think that is our shared favorite movie, right?
Yeah, it's in my top. Yes, I love that movie. I can watch it over and over again. And then like I've already shown my kid The Mask, which was maybe not the best. Like, but there, like I think some of the sexual innuendos went over his head in that one anyway. Right. And then he just liked how goofy Jim Carrey was. It does get a little more violent than I was remembering. I was kind of like, whoops, okay, there's some real mafia shit in here. My bad. But like, yeah, the sexual stuff is really what gives me the most pause too. And I have thought that about Austin Powers too. Like every time I'm like, oh, should I show this? Because every now and then I'll quote something and he'll be like, what's that from? And I'm like, oh, it's Austin Powers. And I try to explain it. And the thing is, he doesn't even understand James Bond. So like, I don't think he would get it. So that was part of my hesitation too, of like, he's not even going to get it. She'll probably get it. I don't know. I mean, look, I remember I saw Ace Ventura when I was in the 4th grade in the movie theater with my JV basketball coach. I never forget this. Because I remember being like, oh, my parents don't know I'm going to see a PG-13. I'm so excited. And we all almost like peed ourselves laughing at that movie. It was the first time any of us had seen it. And like, I will never forget that. And so like, I'm like, when I think about it, I'm kind of like, well, maybe I was a little younger than I thought too, when I saw some of these. Right. So I don't know. I am kind of torn, but also my kid's very impressionable. So I don't want him to go around saying like, I don't want him to go around being like, do I make you horny, baby? It's not good. I don't want him to ask me what horny means. I don't want to have that conversation. Sorry.
I'm just picturing your kid asking random strangers if he makes the party.
He would do this because he doesn't know.
I know he would. I know he would. Here's the thing that I think, because I keep wondering about this movie for my kids too. And it's not so much that it gives me pause, the innuendo, because mine are 14 and 12. Like they're old enough, right? The thing that gives me pause is there enough of the, no, this is me in a nutshell. What kind of nut?
I'm in a nutshell. How did I get into this nutshell?
My question always is there enough of that kind of stupid comedy, which kids love?
I mean, there is a lot of that, to be fair.
There's a ton.
I have shown him the scene of Austin Powers doing the very long pee, and he loves that scene. Of like, he's still going, evacuation, come please. And then he keeps going like over and over. Yes, I have shown, he loved that scene very much. So there are some scenes I will pick out to like show him and be like, okay, you can see this scene, but maybe not some of the rest.
I don't worship at the altar of Tommy Boy the way some people do. I think it's very funny.
Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy's on my list too.
It's not one of my most favorites. However, my son thinks Matt Foley is the funniest goddamn thing he's ever seen in his life. Which, like, wonderful. We were just in Chile, and and Argentina, and I walked
Hunting
around.
Nazis.
I'm sorry,
I said hunting Nazis, but I was just
hunting Nazis. Yes. Oh, by the way, I have a fun story about that to share with you off microphone.
good.
The number of times that I would walk around whenever we were like by like a big historic, like Catholic cathedral, and I would say, Padre, why don't you do me a favor and shut your big yapper, and make him pee his pants laughing, was Cayate tu grande yapper.
Shut your big yapper. The best part of all those skits, by the way, low key, was like everyone laughing during them.
Yes,
So,
100%.
I mean, I'm not saying they weren't good on their own, but like that was the best part.
Speaking of Saturday Night Live skits, I will quote the ladies' man and say, ooh, a lady. From Ashley in Charlotte, our last question for the day. Do the Panthers have a non-divisional rival now? You guys talked about the Seahawks being a rival in the Super Bowl season. How did that happen? I remember a lot of people feeling that way, but I'm not sure how we got there. Who is the equivalent right now? The first part's very easy to answer. There is not one.
What? Oh, well,
there's no equivalent right now.
I'm trying to think of the team. Well, I'm just trying to think of, right. I don't think there's necessarily equivalent to that. No, especially without Russell Wilson and whatever. But
the other part is that before each of them got to their Super Bowl, they ran into each other along the way.
Right. And it was the same with I would say the closest thing, if you want to go based on like history and everything else, would probably be the 49ers, because they used to be in the same division. People don't know this, but it's true. And they became.
It's amazing, by the way, to think about how long ago that was now, right?
Don't even. I mean,
we're coming up on 25 years.
I can't. It's jarring to me, but like,
yeah.
And then like for a stretch there, when Cam was here and Colin Kaepernick and all that, like that was and Harbaugh, like that was the team they were running. Were running their head up against in the NFC for a couple of years, and then. I mean, I definitely would say like of the teams I hate the most outside of the teams I don't want to lose to the most, they're definitely up there. But the Seahawks are probably higher, and the Cowboys. I mean, I don't know, not really the Cowboys. I mean, I guess the closest might be the Commanders, only because of the regional, like the fact that so many people that were not like that did not have a team before when the Panthers were not in existence. A lot of people grew up on the Commanders, and because they're also masochists like us, have stuck to them. And so I will say,
and you and I, by the way, we live in Raleigh, where at least the last time we did a study about this,
lots of
the plurality stuck with the Commanders rather than switch over to the Panthers.
Which
in Raleigh specifically.
Not really. I mean, no, there are people that I know like that even when the Panthers were good, and obviously the Commanders have been sad for quite some time.
Right.
Like even when the Panthers were good, they were like, no, this is what, and I get that. Like like people are still like, who are you going to switch to? And I'm like, nah, that's not really.
Yeah.
Usually I think like NFL rivalries are a little more fluid nowadays too, because some of it depends on like how much do I hate your quarterback? How much do I hate your coach? Like how much do I hate your fans? Like the Patriots, I will always hate losing to, always, because of their fans, but like it's not the same, you know?
So my answer, I think, is one for transplants, but more specific, like for me, the teams I'm going to mention specifically have to do with loving Bryce.
Now I'm thinking of one. Yeah.
I really do want Bryce more to beat the Giants, last year the Commanders, the Patriots, any team that has a quarterback from this area that the fan base loves to do we could have had him with a 5th round pick. Like, come on.
Right. Well, that's almost like a more like, and I get this too. It's like more like oh no, we can't lose to them. Yeah. And more, not like losing to this team will piss me off so much because seeing them happy destroys me inside.
Yeah.
I
had that feeling last year when they beat the Texans just because of the Bryce CJ thing, but I don't think that's sustainable. Like the Texans are clearly, they're on a trajectory we're not right now.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it was a nice, it was at least something. It was one thing that they could that people could point to and go, well, it clearly wasn't like that. Like, QB wins, but except they didn't that time. So like, what?
Right.
How do you, I mean, he's clearly not completely lost. He played pretty well, he played pretty well in that game. So like,
Yeah.
it's not all lost cause. But yeah, I think like NFL rivalries are fluid in that way. And like, look, I can think of teams I really despise, and losing to them will ruin my week. But I'd like to think it would have to be someone with somewhat of a mutual disdain. So that's why I kind of went with the Commanders, because like I can't stand the Steelers and their fans, and they live here too. Their fans. But the Giants is a good one, because we used to like have some spice with them as well. Plenty of times over the years. And I think there is still like a little residual spice as well with them, like with the Gettleman crossover.
That's what I was about to say. There is no desire to see Dave Gettleman succeed at all.
But I end up rooting, like, I've also like found common cause with them more than I haven't when they're not playing the Panthers. So like, I'm kind of like whatever about it. Like, certainly when they beat the Patriots, I was like, heroes, gods among us. Like,
I'm going to make an admission to you before we go here. In 2007, that Super Bowl, I was rooting for history. I was rooting for the Patriots to go 17-0.
I don't hate that. I mean, I wouldn't have been like, I will say this. I wanted Randy Moss to have a Super Bowl without Tom Brady having one. So when at the roast, he was like, give me your ring. Basically, I was like, please do it. Like, he deserves it. Sorry. Like, he does. Like, this is your fault that he didn't have one. So give it to him.
That's a good place to end right there.